So this is from Variety, and it says here Gladiator 2 star Paul Mescal railed against labeling films as content. He called the descriptor a filthy word. Quote, over the last few years, people have been talking about films as content. That's a filthy word. It's not quote unquote content. It's fucking work, he said. I'm not being snobby, but there are two concurrent industries. There are two concurrent industries. One that works with a lack of care, artistic integrity, go nuts. Make stuff with Instagram followers as a factor, whatever. But the other is what has always been there, the craft of film making, directing, lighting, and production design. That keeps artists alive.
That tells me a few things about that person.
Okay, talk about it.
One, it tells me that that person doesn't know what goes into content creation. Um, it also lets me know that that person it does make me think that that person is elitist and thinks that content creation is somehow less than other things. Also, just so we're clear, and I'm really upset because I screenshot the Merriam-Webster um, definitions of content, and movies are content, books
I
are
got you right now.
content.
I got you.
Everything that you consume as art is content. The only reason, okay, you could please, and then I'll get back into it. But please share it with us.
Now, this one is from CambridgeDictionary.org. It says the subject or ideas contained in something written, said, created, or represented.
Everything is content. Everything that is considered art is considered content. The content of a painting, the content of a book. A book has a table of contents. Did anybody ever books have table of contents? Where that word has existed since we all were in school. Content is used today as a buzzword, but it's always existed as a word.
Mhm.
A movie is considered content. Just because you don't like the fact that there are people who don't are not in the film industry that is considered to be somehow more professional than other work that people do doesn't mean that content is not content, because it all is content and has been since you started making movies. It was always content. It is used just like many other words because we have so much information now, and people are able to pick up words and use them. And a lot of times words are used as throwaway words and buzzy words and things like that, but words actually do mean things. And content, its literal definition, is what a movie is what a book is what whatever thing it is. So I just think that that's an elitist on his soapbox. I understand that movie making, filmmaking is a very respected craft, and I respect it very much. And I don't think that someone who makes a video in their house is the same as someone who films an entire movie on a movie set in Hollywood. However, I see value on both ends. And I think that's where I don't like what he said, because he's he somehow found a way to diminish the value of what people today, I guess, would consider content do. It doesn't mean that those people don't work. It does. There are people getting paid millions of dollars to be digital content creators. Like,
Correct.
it doesn't mean, and those people put a lot of money and a lot of time into doing that.
Right.
I agree that there are people who do very frivolous things for money. I will say that. And some of those people are, in fact, content creators. But to make it seem like people, like, people lack talent, you know how many digital creators, because I know that's what he's pointing to. So that's why I'm honing in on digital creators. But really it's everybody who creates. But what bothers me is that, you know how many digital creators probably can't get put on the regular way, the way that he maybe got put on to movies and whatnot, but are just as talented as some actors in Hollywood? You know how many people are making their living off of being funny on the internet and are funnier than some of the comedians that people love and put in movies all the time? You know how many people built their careers on the backs of taking photos of their friends? I can name a couple of the black girls that started out just taking pictures of their friends for content and ended up, one of them, Bex Francois, is Kamala Harris's campaign photographer now. Oh my gosh, what is her name? Her name escapes me right now. Ravy B, who is like shooting all of this uh content, if you will, music videos, celebrities, all kinds of things. She too started in New York, hanging out with her friends, taking videos and photos of them and whatnot, and now is out of this world. So I just get frustrated with stuff like this because I'm like, one, you don't know the definition of content, and two, I know what you're trying to say, and it's fine. Go be a movie star. Everybody is not a movie star, and that is not what I'm saying. But don't disrespect people who are actually working hard and actually probably have to lift more than a finger because of the fact that they don't have the big operation that you have over there with your big budget films. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, number one, that was very well said. You
Thank you.
killed that. You're welcome. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. You know, when I first saw this, just the part that said, films are not content, and he was like, yes, they are, off pod. I was like, oh, we might have a fun debate. But as I read the rest of the quote, here on the pod, uh, I'm further in agreement with him. I agree there are different forms of media, which is what he is pointing out. There are different forms of content, as you said. And yeah, you're right. That's what it is. Different forms of content. And I think that's a distinction he's missing. I agree with you that he is short-sighted and probably a bit naive about what exactly happens with content creation. There are plenty of big podcasts, for example, who their set and the lighting and the cameras on that set are the same ones being used in the movies.
Yeah.
They are being shot the same way as the movies. And the editing style may be different, but most, I won't say most, there are a lot of things that are common in those interests, in those worlds. So, me and you, sure, we may have a very smaller, different setup, especially because we're not recording in person, than one of the top 10 podcasts. But those top 10 podcasts, they have people who work on the lights, people who work on the cameras, people who edit what's filmed, much like a movie set. And they're on a set, by the way. I am in my living room, but the people in the top 10
Even if they're
podcasts,
in, I was gonna agree with you and say, or even if they're in, I can't give away too much information, but some of them who are filming in their homes basically turn their homes into a full-on studio
yes,
with very high quality setup and a whole team that comes in to their home and executes it like it is on a movie set. I mean, we
Yeah.
all don't have that kind of money, but there are many of big podcasters who do that because one, it allows them to work at home, but also it's the setup is state of the art.
Yes. Um, and so I, I don't agree with him saying that content and films are worlds apart. I don't like the way he worded it. It does seem like he's trying to shit on people who create in ways that are not movies. Um, and so actually, I do disagree with his quote. I do think yes, there are different types of content. A film is not just content in the sense that someone who says, I'm going to get breakfast, so I'm going to film it as content. No, that's not the same. It is a very different thing, and I agree with that. But him acting like people do not put in work and people don't have to do lots of things to create on high levels um, is not true. He seems to be a bit uneducated in that field. There are people who write their skits, film their skits, edit their skits. They have to work with other people, other comedians, other actors, much like the film that you are currently starring in. And so those people also have to memorize scripts. There are lots of short films on social media. And so, yeah, he's right. There are people who do it for the gram, right? Who say, oh, I know my followers like when I wear superhero shirts. So I threw out all my polos and button downs, and all I have is superhero shirts. So that way, when I film in superhero shirts, my superhero shirt fans will be very excited about the stuff I'm doing in the superhero shirts. Yeah, there's people like that. That's true. Um, but that's not every person who does something on social media. And so to say that everyone is creating simply for Instagram is also disrespecting lots and lots of people who do a lot more than just think, I'm only doing this thing for likes. I'm only doing this thing for the gram. Some of the people who do these short films, much like the people Dash mentioned, I won't name names, but there are people I've seen who are comedians and actors who are doing things on social media to create a brand and to create a buzz, and they do end up in films. And they end up on those same sets you're on, in those same towns you're filming in. And so I don't think he realizes what it takes to do content, um, especially to do content on a high level. There's lots of different production that goes into it. And I'm also shocked. I looked up his age. He's 28. I'm shocked somebody so young has such a strong and wrong stance on this thing. It's something that you would think like an older person in their 40s or 50s would say. So, yeah, I do disagree. I thought I would kind of side with him because I think, yeah, if we're talking about the guy filming his bagel for breakfast and him and Denzel in the movie, yeah, it's different. But actually, as he kept talking, as I kept reading the quote, nah, I don't agree with the way he's saying it at all. Is it different? Yes, but it doesn't mean that that person doesn't work as hard as you do. It doesn't mean that that person and their creation doesn't have value. And you can not like a word, but don't shit on everybody who does something that you don't do.
Yeah, I think like that.
Because there's words I don't like. There's lots of words that I hear that are hip or buzzworthy or popular, and I think they're fucking dumb. And that's fine, but understand what the person is saying, you know?
Yeah. I laughed when you said the thing about superhero shirts because it made me think of a character on this season of Only Murders in the Building.
Mhm.
There was a character who his entire apartment was decked out in Christmas stuff, tinsel, and just everything Christmas. And he was always wearing an ugly Christmas sweater. He was always dressed like it was Christmas. And when they asked him, well, why are you why is your apartment like, do you love Christmas that much? And he was like, no, actually, at this point, I hate it. But the
Right.
reason why I do it is because I made the mistake of making one Christmas post, and that's the post that did the best. So now everything is Christmas because when I try to post other things, no one likes it. So I just post the Christmas content. But now they want me to post Christmas content eating breakfast, and
Yep.
it was really funny because it was very telling, and it was exactly what you're saying. He was
Right.
like, I can't do anything else because the people on the internet of the this photo that went viral, all these people are here because of that. They're here because of that specific content, and now I have to create that specific content, and if I want to keep up my audience. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't agree with him.